One of the things that I love about Grapevine is that they have the Instagram photo contest. So I am a photographer just for fun. I submit them to Grapevine regularly. And I have been so blessed that I fairly regularly get my pictures published. My name is not on them, but they are often alongside quotes from Bill W. I
Ah,
like it. I actually chokes me up just saying it because I just can't believe that something I am so incredibly passionate about and that Alcoholics Anonymous has given me back in my life, that a picture of mine that I've taken with God swirling around in my mind as I'm taking this picture because I'm like, I can't believe I'm getting to see this. And then being quoted by Bill W. It is an absolute gift.
I love that.
I've heard it through the grapevine. Welcome. It's the AA Grapevine Half-Hour Variety Hour, featuring the collected voices of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm Don, an alcoholic in Greensboro, North Carolina.
And an alcoholic who just can't stop laughing at times. Hey, everybody, I'm Sam, an alcoholic in Palm Springs, California.
What you say, Sam?
Hey, Don. It's been a long time.
Since the last time I saw you, I turned into a cartoon character.
You've always been a bit cartoonish.
Sam, you know the black and red signs that are always in AA meetings that say things like, first things first, and think. And
Yeah, I've never seen one. I don't know what you're talking about. No, Don.
did you know they're published by the Grapevine?
Well, yeah, of course I did, because they were first published in the magazine around late 1956, early 1957. There's 5 signs in total: live and let live, first things first, but for the grace of God, easy does it, and my favorite, when it's displayed upside down, or in the upside down.
In the upside down.
Think.
Yep, my sponsor said, that's not for you.
But did you know that there's an order that they are, I'm doing air quotes here, folks, supposed to be posted in?
No.
So that the first word of each one winds up going, live easy, but think first.
Ooh, I love that. I've never heard that.
Yeah, check it out. When you see them hanging on a wall in most places, you'll find them in that order.
Now, I've always studied them because I like calligraphy. I like hand lettering things. And I've always thought I'd like to make a new one.
Ooh.
I'm going to do it exactly in the same font, the same way it's done, with those great big, like I want to do one that says, let go or be dragged. And the L will be really big and the D will be really big in that Gothic style. Or I could do my sponsor's favorite line. Well, he said it's his favorite line from the Big Book, but I looked it up and it's not actually in the Big Book. The idea is in the Big Book. On page 164 it says, God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. So he always says that his favorite line in the Big Book is, more will be revealed. But that's a good line for one of those signs. What line would you come up with? What's your favorite line in AA?
Rebellion dogs our every step.
That's from the 12 and 12.
Well, yeah, but I still love it.
Yeah, that's great.
That one and Children of Chaos. I love that.
Well, I was talking with you and Alice and Chris, our publisher, and I was going, let's do a contest. And he said, yeah, let's do it. So listeners, send in your ideas for a new slogan. And the podcast team was going to choose a winner, and I'll hand draw it up, or maybe we'll get the actual professional staff to draw it up. Who knows what's going to happen with it? At the very least, I'll draw it and we can put it on Instagram. But we'll choose. Of course, now it's got to go. Now, what was?
Live easy, but think first.
So it has to add on to that.
Live easy, but think more first. So, this could be controversial, Don. We're not really going to be publishing this sign, right?
No, we're just going to choose it, and
it's a game. It's
fun. A game, and we're just going to give a wonderful prize. And what will they win, Sam?
The warm glow of accomplishment.
It's for fun. We will send the winner, whoever we choose, a set of the 5 signs.
Oh, that's cool.
The real 5 signs.
And maybe a copy of your drawing.
Yeah, and a copy of the drawing.
Send your suggestions to podcast@aagrapevine.org.
All right.
Don, I think you're living up to the term children of chaos.
And maybe a little wee bit of a rebellion dog.
Yeah, indeed. Don, today we're going to get to meet with Julie G in White Rock, BC, Canada, and a bit of listener feedback.
And we're going to close with a powerful share in our segment, The Language of the Heart. But first, the news! The Grapevine and Lavinia apps on both iOS and Android are now available in most parts of the world, including Mexico, Central America, South America, Asia, Australia, Africa, and the European Union. Your subscriptions to Grapevine and Lavinia through the apps help keep the Grapevine podcast growing and reaching more AA members around the globe. Shout out to all you new listeners. And a special thanks to everyone who subscribes.
My name is Julie, and I am an alcoholic, and I am from White Rock, BC, Canada. And my home group meets every Wednesday night at 7:30. It's called the Newcomers Group, and we meet in Cloverdale, Surrey. Yeah, our meeting's been going for about 3 years now. It's a successful meeting so far. We had to move locations because it was so successful. So we're enjoying.
Wow.
Yes.
So how many people do you tend to get?
75 to 85.
Ooh. Is it a speaker meeting?
It's called the Newcomers Meeting, and it is geared towards newcomers. We read parts of the big book. It is a share meeting, like it's just for sharing. But at 6:15, we have a beginners meeting, which is an informal gathering. So anybody who's brand new to AA or just wants to find out about it, and we just have an informal discussion and talk about AA through the literature. So we just use the pamphlets and we just discuss about what Alcoholics Anonymous is all about and what it offers.
Oh, it sounds like it's more conversational.
It's totally conversational. So you can ask questions, and you get people who've truly never heard of AA. You really feel like you're carrying the message. So it's wonderful.
Do you stay till all 75 people have shared?
No, we do not stay that long.
How do you handle discussions?
The beginners, we let people speak. If they have questions, they interject, they can just ask. And then for our regular meeting, we call on a collection of people that can carry a strong message from being in AA for a period of time. And we also call on the brand new people.
That sounds wonderful.
It does indeed.
So, Julie, what was going on with you that brought you to AA?
What was going on with me was I was a very secluded, isolated alcoholic, a typical housewife. I lived most of my alcoholic days in front of my fireplace in my home. I have 2 kids who watched this all go down. I went to work every day. I had a regular job. And as soon as I came home, I shut down and I just started to drink and I couldn't stop. And I did not know that it was a disease. I did not know that I suffered those symptoms. And basically, I went on a vacation with my 2 children. I left there at 11 a.m. already drunk and drove home with my kids. And my kids were absolutely terrified.
How old were they?
They were 11 and 12. So they went to my best friend and they were hysterical. And my best friend came to me with an Al-Anon list of meetings and basically said to me, either you get help or I can no longer be a part of your life. And for me, that was my rock bottom, to not have the one person who I did have in my life, which was not very many, to threaten to leave. And I knew that it was now out in the open because I didn't speak to anybody about my drinking. Nobody knew about my drinking to the extent that I was doing it. And I, 4 days later, showed up in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. And as God would have it, I sat down next to the lady that would be my sponsor and is still my sponsor to this day.
Now, Julie, you didn't start off drinking like you ended drinking. How did things start?
I'll tell you how it started. My mom was mentally unwell. She had bipolar and was in and out of mental institutions. She went out onto the highway that was right outside of where the institution was, and she jumped in front of a truck and committed suicide.
Oh my
So
God. gosh.
That's when I was 16. So when that happened, that was devastation beyond my comprehension.
Mhm.
And I turned to liquor. I didn't know what to do. I needed to escape my existence. And so I started drinking, and I started drinking alcoholically right from the beginning. One of the very first times I did, I was sick as a dog. One of the next times I did, I was blacked out, was carried out of a movie theater, have no recollection of it whatsoever. So I drank in that way right from the beginning. And I
Okay.
always drank to get loaded. I didn't drink socially. I did, it wasn't a slow progression. I started sneaking alcohol early on. I would hide away in my room. As I grew older and my kids came around, I would have lots of dinner parties, because if I had dinner parties, I didn't have to drink and drive, and I could hide the liquor in behind the
Yeah.
coffee pot, in behind whatever I was cooking, and I could zip to the kitchen and drink. And I did that for so many years. It was a lot of years of drinking while my kids were growing up.
It's really interesting the way that we will build our lives around drinking in ways that just wouldn't seem like it was.
Yes, and I used to drink boxes. So you couldn't look at a box and tell how much was gone. I
Uh,
actually never knew how much I really totally drank, because I just would fill up my water glass, or if I was too lazy, I would just drink straight from the spout. I didn't care. So I would
Mm.
just go and buy a couple of boxes at a time, and I would hide them when I hid them into the garbage can, so that my husband didn't see how many I was buying. I lived like that for many, many, many years.
so the consequences that got you to see it as being a problem, was it your son calling a friend?
It was my son. When I
Mm.
was on that trip with my son, I remember sitting outside of a liquor store just before 9 o'clock, waiting for the liquor store to open. And my son was in the car with me. And he said to me, he said, "Mom, you don't really need another box of wine. You really don't." So I said to him, I thought, oh my gosh, like he's noticing. He's noticing that I'm drinking a lot.
Mhm.
And so I said, "You're right. I don't need a box of wine." So I left and I went and let them hang out with some other friends that had come up as well. And I went back and I went and got that liquor. And I didn't know that I couldn't stop. I didn't know that I had this disease of alcoholism. I had no clue.
So when you came to AA, how did you stop?
It was one of those cases where you think you can't live with it and you can't live without it. And my sponsor literally was a lifeline. Stayed in touch with me every day. We went to meetings. I went to meetings by myself. And I just literally, truly did it one day at a time.
Mm.
Sometimes it literally was 1 hour at a time. And I distracted myself with, I thought that my unmanageability was the fact that I had a really messy house, like a hoarder lived there. So I thought, well, if I just clean my house up, that will help to solve my problem. So I dug in cleaning my garage, thinking that was, once I get my garage clean, I'll have cleaned up my act as far as alcoholism goes. I had no idea what the unmanageability was.
Did you find out?
I sure did. My sponsor very, very gently guided me to help teach me that that's not what your unmanageability is. Your unmanageability is the fact that once you pick up a drink, you cannot stop, and it controls your life, and that you think the next day that you're going to be okay and that you can do it again. I'm really lucky. I drank and drove a lot, and I didn't get caught. I absolutely should have. So there was no massive consequence until my son called me out on it,
Mm.
my best friend. And so I believe that that was a gift from God, that he worked through people and he worked through my son. And to this day, I have the most amazing relationship with my son. He is just thrilled
Ah,
that I'm sober. He's 20, almost 25 now. He's just thrilled that I'm living as good of a life as I am. Like I am peaceful and content and making the most of my life. So he's thrilled.
oh, that's fantastic. I love that because it's not a guarantee, but often relationships heal when we recover.
I'm so lucky that mine both did. My daughter, the same thing. I know I'm lucky. And I know that because I've got friends that are sober for a number of years now, and they still don't have contact with their kids.
Mm.
So I know that I'm one of the very blessed ones that, I haven't relapsed yet, and that I've gone along on this journey. And, with the help of my sponsor, I continue to grow along spiritual lines, which is what I'm supposed to do. I'm not supposed to stay stagnant. And what happens is, as I continue to grow, I continue to want more of what I'm getting. So that makes me want it to continue to grow. Like it's a beautiful cycle how it works.
Indeed.
So when you came in, so what was the biggest obstacle to you?
I truly had to trust that my sponsor was guiding me and that there was a purpose to it because it made no sense to me. I didn't believe it would work. I didn't think I was smart enough to get it, to be honest. I just did what she told me to do, like be of service. I thought, how is being of service going to keep me sober? And now I realize I can't not be of service. Like that's got to be a part of my life now. That's got to be part of my journey. And being of service is, not just necessarily in AA. It's being of service to my family. Being my dad has Alzheimer's right now or dementia, and he's in a long-term care home, and that includes going to see him regularly. I'm the only family in town, so being of service now looks different to me than it ever has. I've never thought of ever being so helpful in my
No,
entire life,
I didn't think about it at all, I can
ever.
tell you.
When we become that service oriented person,
Yeah.
it becomes a whole new life in so many ways.
Yes, it does, because you decrease the amount of self-centeredness that was absolutely 100% the key of my problems was the deep, deep, deep self-centeredness, which I didn't think I had when I came in. I'm like, how can I be so self-centered if I'm doing all these things for people? Because I was so busy being a people pleaser
Mhm.
and not wanting people to think there was anything wrong with me, when really, at the end of the day, my motives were not pure, and I was 100% self-centered.
Now I don't live in the anxiety and the internal turmoil that was always going on inside of me before I got sober, which was things like they're not acting right. This person's disapproving of me. I'm going to lose my job because of what they're thinking. I can tell what they're thinking. These cars are not acting right on the road. Everything is going against me. It was like a constant battle to survive. And I don't live that way anymore.
No, I don't live that way anymore either. Most things are just none of my business.
How do you determine what's your business?
Things that have crippled me in the past about what people think about me and or that they're even thinking about me. I don't spend any time focusing on that kind of thing anymore. That's gone. I also don't have the tendency for depression. That's completely gone. That's been lifted for over 10 years. Like I'm convinced that this program has changed the chemistry or whatever it goes on that makes you feel depressed, that I don't want to stop doing what I'm doing because I don't want to go back to where I was.
Mm.
Trust the process, because that's what I ended up doing, and it worked. And as the longer I'm sober, the more stories I hear and the more people I'm around, the more I realize that same process worked for all these people as well. These are the people who I want to spend my time with, is these people that have got this amazing contented sobriety, that are going through hard things, but to watch them absolutely go through these things with grace.
There was an old timer where I got sober. One of the things that she said, because being in recovery doesn't mean I'm not going to have fear. Fear is still going to show up. She said, courage is fear that has said its prayers.
That's beautiful.
Let's make a sign in Gothic letters. I like that saying. Julie, can you describe some hard time that you've had now that you've been sober a few years that you got through it thanks to AA?
Well, it's funny you ask. The last year, my dad also was diagnosed with dementia. It was a bad situation, and he ended up in the hospital and ended up in a long-term care home. So no more driving, his whole life completely changed. That was challenging, and that also took other people saying to me, you know what, I've gone through that too. And it's just this community of people that it's not necessarily just about drinking. It's about living.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yes. Do you get exhausted with care of your father?
I can tell you that I am not, because I believe that God has placed me in this position in my life today, that I have the time to go and see my dad. I see him almost every day. And I feel like it is being of service. I did not have a great relationship growing up with my dad. It's not like my dad deserves, to have this kind of attention or care in my mind. But it's not about that. God's placed this task for me to be of service and to go and be loving and caring and do the best I can with somebody who has dementia. And I don't get exhausted because I know I'm doing the right thing. Like I feel like I'm in alignment with God. So I'm not fighting it. I'm not fighting anything. So I don't feel like that. But that's because of my strong connection with my higher power. If I was not doing this if I didn't have Alcoholics Anonymous, I'd be resentful. I'm sure I would not go as often. And when I went, I might not be as gentle as I am. And with Alcoholics Anonymous, I don't even know why. It just feels like it's just the right thing to do.
It's the right thing to do. Yes, it's beautiful.
The fellowship is incredible in the way that we support each other. Julie, I don't know that I have met you before. We were talking about perhaps at the International Convention, we may have crossed paths, but sitting here right now, you know me and I know you because we're alcoholics who are in recovery, who have this common path, and we can cut through the fluff and have the real conversation and talk about what's really going on in our lives, where things are going great, where things are a struggle, where things are like, I don't know what to do here. It's amazing how much support we get from each other.
100%. And for my sponsees to do what's the next right thing. And we're just equals. And it is so beautiful.
I love that. What a wonderful way to, unfortunately, end this part of the show.
Now it's time for listener feedback.
That was the stinger, right?
I didn't know you were going to do the little musical interlude. Very well done, Sam.
We got this suggestion from Josie in Toronto. PLBB, leading by example. I enjoyed episode 4 of season 10, January 26th. The well-being of the entire fellowship is our priority, is how the Plain Language Big Book interprets Tradition 1. I am part of a group of Zoom members from 7 countries who are reading and discussing the Plain Language Big Book. So I am so glad that the podcast endorses and promotes the PLBB. But how about being a good example? You avoid insider talk by quoting steps and traditions whenever someone brings one up. Thank you. But why not read the plain language wording? How about normalizing quoting the book that reaches more people than our 1930s language could? And why not stump the thumper with PLBB quotes?
Ooh, this is good.
Alcoholism is a confusing and powerful condition that is unlike anything else in the world. Alcohol is extremely complicated, tricky, and difficult. It seems to control people and punish people who are addicted to it. That's a quote from the Plain Language Big Book. This is an easy one because people say the less communicative, less effective version over and over by memory. But what chapter and page is it from?
Oh, come on now, Joe. Go ahead, Sam.
Oh, Don, I know you know all that. You write Stump a Thumper.
Page and chapter.
I know it's harder to thump a paperback and keep up the great work. Joe C., Beyond Belief Agnostics and Free Thinkers AA Group, Toronto, Canada.
Wow, what a great letter. I just love the idea of using the Plain Language Big Book. Maybe Alice could answer the page number and chapter of
she probably could.
Quotations. I can't think that way. So, Stump the Thumpers, what comes to mind with alcohol is extremely complicated, tricky, and difficult. Sam, Julie, what do you think of? Very popular quote we say all the time in AA.
I have no idea.
Cunning, baffling, and powerful, I think. I haven't looked it up, but I'm thinking that's what that is.
Yeah, so this is going to wind up being an education for us as well.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, while I've read the Plain Language Big, I haven't been in a Plain Language Big Book study.
I'm in a big book study. As we read each paragraph in the big book, I make a notation in my Plain Language Big Book to cross-reference them. So I love doing that. Diving into some odd word, and there's lots of odd words, so I've got one for you. My favorite plain language translation is, begging these people to stop never helps.
Frothy emotional appeal seldom suffices.
Ding, 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 ding. We have a winner! 2,000 points!
That's a lot of points.
Joe, This is a great idea, and I'm going to do it. The next Stump the Thumpers will be a plain language big book. I don't think I'm going to ask what page number this comes from or what chapter. I think I already get enough hokum. No, not hokum.
I don't know what that word is. Can you give me the plain language version?
Kablooey from Sam saying that the questions are too hard, but we'll come up with something or other with the plain language big book. I love the idea, and thanks for writing.
Folks, we'd love to hear from you. Call in with your Ask It Basket questions. That number is 212-870-3418. You can always write us at podcast@aagrapevine.org with comments, suggestions, and such.
Julie, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
If you value this podcast, please subscribe to the Grapevine magazine in print or in the app.
Or provide a subscription to someone in need through our Carry the Message program.
Or purchase one of our many books available at aagrapevine.org/store.
aagrapevine.org. Language of the heart.
My name's Chip, and I'm an alcoholic. I'm from Tucson, Arizona. My sobriety date is May 31st, 2005. My home group is the TGIF group in Tucson. I'll talk about the last moment of clarity that kind of set the road in motion for me. I was working a lot and drinking a lot. That was really about all I was doing besides eating and sleeping. I was driving home from work one Sunday afternoon, and I was really, really annoyed because it was late enough in the day on Sunday that I couldn't get properly drunk. I was pretty miserable, and I decided, well, I'll fix this. I'll shoot myself if I can get time off of work to go buy a gun. The ridiculousness of that thought clicked somehow with me. And I decided to talk to somebody. And I went to a shrink, and he kind of tricked me. He said, "Do you think you can go until our next appointment without drinking?" I think I can do that, and rushed out to the waiting room to make an appointment as close as I could to the next appointment. And at first it was kind of like quitting a part-time job, but then the weekend came and it got hard. But I made it for that time, and then the next appointment, he tricked me again. And he said, "You might get some relief by going to a meeting." And I'll tell you, by that time, I was like a car that you start the engine and remove the oil drain plug and let all the oil drain out. You know, my life was unmanageable, but I thought the booze was what was making it manageable. I didn't want to give up the last thing that I had. I didn't think I was really an alcoholic. And I called our local central office hotline number because by that time, I was not the guy you wanted to be sitting next to. I was angry and just not very pleasant person to be around. So I thought I'd pick out a meeting, and I did, and it was a closed meeting, though, and I knew you weren't supposed to go to a closed meeting unless you were really an alcoholic. And so I got on the phone to the hotline and talked with this guy, and I said, "You know, I don't really know if it's okay if I go to a closed meeting." And he said, "You know, I think it would probably be okay." And it was. I went to that meeting, and for the first time in over a month, I didn't have to listen to what was happening in my head. I didn't have to think about drinking. I didn't have to think about not drinking. I was around people who were happy to be sober. Even though I wasn't really an alcoholic, I knew I wanted that. I wanted to be happy about not drinking.
My My name is Victor E., and I'm an alcoholic.
Hello, Victor.
I went and saw my psychiatrist today, and he told me that there was good news and bad news. The good news is that I have brain cells left. The bad news is that there are only 2 left, and they're waving goodbye to each other.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
It's really not that funny. Thanks for joining us. The AA Grapevine Half Hour Variety Hour is posted every Monday and is produced by AA Grapevine, Inc. We don't speak for AA as a whole. We share the experience, strength, and hope of members to help others recover from alcoholism. All things Grapevine are available at aagrapevine.org, including our app and how to get in touch with us. Find us on Instagram and YouTube. If you want to know more about AA, visit aa.org or search online for Alcoholics Anonymous and your city.